Okay, so now we're going to see how to recreate this tree, and we are going to restart from a blank scene just to see all the steps required to build such a tree. So let's do a new scene. Let's start from a blank preset. So we just have an empty scene like that. First, we need to import the mesh for our tree to grow on. So let's go in the mesh tab here, create a new mesh, and let's go and select in the speed tree folder in the base rock. So as the mesh is exported from Houdini, the orientation is not right at the beginning. So we just need to pick and choose the orientation with the Y up axis. Okay. And now, if we want to see the mesh in the scene, we need to create a mesh force. So it's both going to be used to display the mesh in the viewport and to be used as a force to grow the roots on top of it. And also it's going to indicate the scale of the tree we need to build. So to create a force, we just click here on the force, click add, go to geometry, and choose the base rock as an input for our mesh force. So now it's displayed in the viewport. If we want to have it display with a shader, we need to create a new shader. So let's go in the material here. Let's create a new shader. And actually, just we don't want to plug any texture on it, so let's just go here, click on add new, and rename this, for example, rock shader. Okay. And basically, it's just going to be a blank shader, so we don't need to put anything on it. We could put some texture, rock texture if we would. Here, it's not the point. So let's just reduce a bit the albedo so it's not just so bright. And now in our mesh force, we can just go here and choose the include in model option. So it's displayed in the viewport correctly. And as a material, we're going to choose the rock shader. So now we can see our base rock with the sleeping lady in the viewport. So we can play with the light like that if we want to put more volume on the reading to make it more readable in the viewport. We can also click here on the light and edit the properties. And if you know what kind of atmosphere you will have in your scene, you can choose a different preset here or import your own HDRI. So for example, here we can just use the forest or misty forest maybe just to set the atmosphere. So it's not very important, but just for the mood, it can be nice. Okay, so now we have our base to start to work, and let's create some trunks. So here we want a very hard directable way of picking the places for our trunks. So we are going to use the hand-drawn tools from SpeedTree, the freehand drawing. And now if we go to the hand-drawn tool like that, we can click space in the viewport and click on the ground like that to create some trees. So for now, just create some trunks like that. If we click on the trunk, we can activate the translation by pressing W. And by pressing T, we can just click on the mesh and snap the base of the trunk on the mesh. So like that, you can just pick an initial position for your trunk and start to position them. So for now, the radius is far too big, so we can maybe just go into the node edition mode, and in the skin tab here, we can just reduce the absolute radius. So it's going to reduce the radius per node. So here we want the absolute control on our trees for the first part. Then the rest of the tree is going to be more procedural. So we want to choose exactly where the tree starts to grow, what is width of the trunk, and maybe also the length of it. We're going to see it in a moment. So here we can just reduce the size of our trunks like that, and we can start to position them. So now we can choose the position for the base of the trunk, and like that maybe we can give a slight angle for the starting of the growth of the tree. So here is just a matter of choosing what you want your base to be. So here It's just using the standard control like that to give an initial state for our trunks. So maybe it doesn't need to be that long to start with, because the rest of the tree is going to be extended anyway with a branch node. So I'm not going to edit it too much here, because I need to create the rest of the trunk to see exactly what I need to do. So the next step here is to generate an extension for the tree based on what we have here. So let's right click on the trunk and add a geometry to the selected node. And we are going to choose the branch. So it's just going to create a branch on the existing trees, but we don't actually want to create some branch here. We want to create some extensions. So in the Gen tab, I'm going to put the number to 0. So it's not going to generate any branch at all. And if I go a bit lower here, in the extend parent here, I'm going to choose any. So it's going to extend all the parents. It's just going to generate some branch on top of the existing trunk. So now, if I go in the spine tab, you see that the length of this branch is actually a percentage of the parent. So here, if I just grow this, I can have a length of a branch which is actually indexed on the length of the parent. So now if I go here and go back to the freehand tools, I can just give an initial length to the trunk, and the rest of it is going to be extended based on that, because the other branch is just a percentage of the initial one. So like that, I can just set the base for my branch. So with that in mind, I can just continue to place my initial trunks and see how I want to place them. So I can still go and create some more. So if I press space at any time, I can create a new one. And again, if I want to edit the radius of this one, I can just go here and with this one selected in node mode, edition mode, I can just go here and the skin, reduce the absolute width of it. And again, if I press T on the keyboard, I can just place the trunk and snap it on the mesh and choose the position. So now you can take a little time to choose your initial position and find a nice balance for the repartition of your trees. And we are going to continue based on that to put some extra branches. Okay, so I've spent a bit of time to place my initial trunks. You can do it as you wish. Here, maybe I have a little problem on this one. Just let me go back and edit this one. Just the tangents are kind of destroyed. It's important not to have a broken base for the tree. Just correct this one. Edit this one a little bit. Okay. So now that I have the main base for my trees, I can go and edit a bit the look of the branch. So for the branch, the main look of the spine here is going to append in the spine tab. And it's basically the late noise here that we're going to use to change the shape of the branch. So early noise is going to be applied before forces. Late noise is going to be applied after forces. So it might be problematic sometimes to use the late noise because it's going to add on top of your forces. So it might just destruct the look that you've made before. But at the same time, it's the most controllable I feel. So for this branch here, so because we don't have any interpenetration and stuff like that, it's going to be good to just go and play with that. So I'm just going to reduce a bit the noise, and also I want them to point upward. So in the spine here, I can go in the gravity tab here and make a negative gravity just to ensure that the trees continue to grow upward. So if I go very fast, strong, here you can see that even though the trunk starts with an angle, they're going to always point upward. So here I'm going to just keep the gravity pretty low and negative. If I were to put positive value, it would fall the opposite way. But here I'm using the force as a negative force to just make them point upward. And let's play a little bit more with the noise. So I'm just gonna reduce that even more, I think. And here you have the frequency and the amplitude, basically. Okay, so I guess something like 0.2, 0.5 is pretty good. I want to have a pretty straight trunks. Okay, so what next? We can create a material now for the trunks to see a bit better what's the look it's gonna have at the end. So we don't have to use this texture, but we can, and we will for the tutorial. So let's create a new material here. And so this time I'm going to use this little plus here, so I can use some presets from V3. So for now, I'm just going to use a sample. So if I go here in samples, so here I can choose Bark for previewing the effect that we're going to have. So let's go in the sample broadleaf in Bark, and let's pick the first picture here, the sample Bark. So it's the diffuse, and it's going to automatically fill in the other one for us. It automatically detects the normal, the glossiness, and so on. So now, if I want to apply this material to the trunk, I can just go on the trunk here, and in the material tab here, I can just go and choose the sample Bark. And automatically, the extension of the branch will pick the shader as well, because in the branch here, if we look, the material type is inherited. So it's gonna take the material of the parent. So it's pretty convenient when you have many nodes generating some branches. They all automatically take the shader from the parents, which is pretty logical for the Bark most of the time. Okay, so now we have a base shader on it, so it's a bit nicer looking. And what else can we do to make these trunks a bit better? If we jump here to the standard mode, from standard mode to script mode, I can see the wireframes. So we see that the wireframes are not very dense for hero trees. So we can maybe just go here and increase the segment. So here I might increase from 5 to, let's say, 10. Well, maybe not too much. Maybe let's make it 18. And let's also, in a radial mode, increase also the count. Okay. So let's go back to the standard mode. And now let's go and see a bit what's generating these looks with on the base of the tree. So it's in the displacement tab. So I'm not going to cover every parameters here because there is a lot of them, but we are going to cover them as we go during the tutorial and when we need them. So okay, let's go to the displacement tab, and if we go here in the flare tab, you can see that it's here that we are generating this kind of extension at the base of the tree. So we can make it more or less bigger. We can choose how high it's gonna go on the tree, and so on. So here with the radius, make it more or less wide, and reducing the noise scale is going to increase the frequency or decrease the frequency. So it's the number of actual flares which are happening on the Bark. It's highly dependent also on the number of polygon you use. If you want very high details here, you're going to have to add some more segment, especially in a radial. So maybe let's make it a bit more, just as we see a bit better the effect of the frequency. So here, if I just play with noise scale, you can see that the lower the noise scale, the bigger the flares, and the higher the noise scale, the smaller the flares, but the higher the segments needs to be to represent them. So okay, let's make it not too big, maybe something like that. And we can always come back later and edit that depending on the roots that's gonna be generated on top of that. Okay, so this is for the base. It's looking nice. We also can add some displacement, some general displacement on the Bark. So, for example, here we have the fine displacement. So it's gonna be nice to just break a little bit the surface of the tree. Maybe we can exit the script mode here. It's a bit hard to see what we do. So here, yeah, we can just go and put some fine displacement. So again, we have the displacement amount and the displacement frequency. So the lower the frequency, the larger the patterns are going to be on displacement. All right. And here we have also a larger kind of displacement. So we can have two level of displacement, the wide and the small, just to have two type of frequencies noise on trees. But we don't need to make too much on that. We want to put some displacement also on the extension of the tree. So let's go in the branch as well. And as you've seen, the branch inherited the radial segments from their parents because they are connected on it. And we can maybe increase a bit the segments on the other axis. So maybe here in length, we're gonna increase a bit the segment like that. So it's more continuous from one to the other. Also, if you don't want to have triangles like that, you can go on your tree here, and in the geometry type, you can just choose quads for the branches. Okay, like that, you don't have triangles if you want to export them, and I don't know, make some other mesh editing on top of it. Okay, so now we can go back to the branches and eventually put a bit of displacement as well on them. So here there is some by default, and maybe let's put a little bit of fine displacement as well. Okay. Again, it's something that you can go back and edit at the end, depending on the how close or far from the tree you're going to stand. Okay, so we are not too bad now for the branches. On the next chapter, we're going to start to add extra bifurcating branches and start to shape the actual look of our trees.